Hello, everyone. I hope you doing very, very well. Um, okay, Virgo, someone younger than you cannot stop thinking about you. And I do not mean younger in the trivial, barely a difference sense. I mean genuinely, noticeably, this is a thing, younger. Someone who belongs to a different chapter of life than the one you are currently in, who has a different relationship to time and experience and the specific weight that living accumulates in a person the longer they carry it. And they are absolutely, completely, not even a little bit subtle gone for you. The only person who has not fully received this information yet is you. Let me tell you why. Not why they are attracted to you in the general sense, the specific sense, the particular combination of things that a person at their stage of life has looked around at what is available and found consistently underwhelming, and then looked at you and understood immediately what has been missing. They are surrounded by their own generation, by people who are still figuring out who they are, who change positions based on what the room seems to want, who have not yet developed the specific relationship to their own values that only comes from having actually been tested by something real, who perform confidence because actual confidence is still being assembled, who are interesting in the way that potential is interesting, but who have not yet become anything fully formed. And then there is you. You walk into a space and something is different, not louder, not more dramatic, not obviously different in a way that demands attention, just settled in yourself, in your values, in the specific, quiet, completely unperformed way of someone who has been through enough to know who they are and has stopped needing external confirmation to sustain that knowledge. That settledness is intoxicating to someone who has not yet found it in themselves, not because they want to take it from you, because they want to be near it, to understand it, to feel what it feels like to be in the presence of someone who is not still becoming, but has actually genuinely arrived somewhere real. You arrived somewhere real. They can feel it, and it is pulling them in ways they did not plan for and are not entirely sure what to do with. Here is what they see when they look at you, not what you think they see, not the version of yourself that you examine in your most critical internal mirror, not the accumulation of everything you wish were different or more resolved or further along, not the gap between who you are and who you think you should be by now. What they actually see: someone who has texture, real texture, the specific, undeniable texture of a person whose life has left marks that became character rather than damage, who has been shaped by experience in a way that makes them more interesting rather than less, who carries the specific gravity of someone who has loved something and lost something and kept going and developed through the keeping going a quality that cannot be manufactured or rushed or produced by someone who has not yet had the time to develop it. They find you fascinating in the way that people find things fascinating that they have not yet encountered at this resolution. Because at their stage of life, this depth is genuinely uncommon. And they recognize it even if they cannot fully articulate what they are recognizing. Even if what they experience is simply, this specific person makes me feel something I do not feel around other people, and I want more of that feeling. And I am beginning to understand that the feeling is connected to who they are rather than just to what they do. They are beginning to understand. Let me tell you what the attraction looks like in practice, because it has a texture that I want you to recognize the next time you are in this person's presence. They find reasons. That is the first sign. Reasons to be in your orbit, reasons to extend conversations that have reached their natural conclusion, reasons to ask questions they could have found the answer to elsewhere, but chose to bring to you because bringing something to you gives them legitimate access to your attention. The questions are not really about the answers. The questions are about the excuse to hear you think. Because the way you think, the way your intelligence moves through a problem or a topic or an idea, the specific route your observations take from receiving something to responding to it, is something they could listen to for significantly longer than any social situation typically allows. They are also watching you when you do not know you are being watched. Not intrusively, in the specific helpless way that people watch someone they are attracted to when they believe themselves to be unobserved. Taking in the version of you that exists when you are not performing for anyone, when you are simply in the room being yourself without any particular awareness of how you are landing. That version of you is the one they are most gone for, the unguarded one, the one that appears when something genuinely interests you and you forget to maintain the composed exterior because the thing you are engaging with has pulled you fully in. They have seen that version and they have been thinking about it since. Does something about this feel familiar? Is there a specific person in your life who is younger than you and whose energy around you has a quality you have perhaps noticed and then immediately filed under something more innocent than what it actually is? Have you caught them looking and then looking away just slightly too late? Have you felt the specific quality of their attention when it is on you as something different from how they engage with other people in the same space? Have you noticed and then talked yourself out of what you noticed because the age difference made the noticing feel presumptuous or unlikely or like the kind of thing you should not let yourself believe? I want you to stop talking yourself out of it. Tell me in the comments if this is landing somewhere specific. Tell me if there is a face that appeared when you read the title. Because I think many of you have been receiving signals from this direction and filtering them through a belief system that says this particular kind of attention is not meant for you. It is meant for you. It has been meant for you this entire time. Now, let me talk about the move that is coming because they are building toward something, not impulsively. This is not someone who is going to act on a feeling before they have sat with it long enough to understand it. They have been sitting with it, running it through their own internal process, asking themselves whether what they feel is real and whether acting on it is wise, and whether the risk of being wrong about how it will be received is worth taking. They have been having that conversation with themselves for a while, and the conversation is reaching its conclusion. Because here is what happens when someone sits with a feeling long enough to fully understand it. It does not stay the same size. It grows, becomes more specific, more defined, more demanding of expression. And the longer it remains unexpressed, the more clearly the person carrying it understands that the alternative to expressing it is carrying it indefinitely, and indefinitely is beginning to feel like too long. They are almost ready. The move is not going to be a grand gesture. This person has enough self awareness to understand that grand gestures create pressure rather than space. What they are planning is more honest than grand, more direct than elaborate, something that simply makes what has been true in private available in the open, that puts the feeling somewhere it can be responded to rather than somewhere it has to stay hidden. It is coming. And when it comes, it is going to be clear. You will not have to wonder what it means. Here is what is holding them back right now. You, specifically, the version of you they have constructed around the question of whether someone like you would find someone like them worth the consideration, whether the age difference is something you think about, whether your life at the stage it is at has room for something that does not fit neatly into the obvious categories of what is appropriate or expected. They are not insecure about who they are. They are uncertain about how you see the gap between who they are and who you are. And that uncertainty has been doing the work of caution more effectively than any rational argument about timing or appropriateness could have done. They want to know that the door is not closed before they knock. And here is what I need you to understand about that. The way you have been behaving in their presence has been sending a signal, not a cruel signal, not an intentional one, the specific signal of someone who is not entirely sure what they are receiving and is defaulting to the social safety of treating the situation as simpler than it actually is, of responding to their attention with warmth that stops just short of acknowledgement, of being present with them in a way that is genuine, but that maintains enough of the ordinary social distance to avoid the territory where what is actually happening would have to be named. You have been friendly when something in them was hoping for something with a different quality. You have been warm when they were watching for something that indicated the warmth was specific to them rather than general. You have not done anything wrong, but you have made it harder for them to find the certainty they are looking for before they make their move. I want to talk about what you have decided you deserve, not what you say you deserve, what you have actually decided in the quiet of your own interior, in the honest, unsentimental, this is where I actually am rather than where I present myself as being assessment of what you think is available to you in the realm of being chosen. Because somewhere along the way, through the specific accumulation of experiences that have shaped your relationship to being wanted, a belief was installed that the kind of attraction I am describing, the all in, cannot stop thinking about you, finding reasons to be in your orbit, watching you when you are not watching back, quality of being genuinely wanted by someone. That is for other people. That is for people who have something you do not quite have, who are in a different category, who move through the world with a particular kind of ease in being desired that you have never fully claimed for yourself. And so when it arrives, when someone looks at you with exactly that quality of wanting, your first response is not to receive it, it is to explain it away, to find the alternative interpretation that requires less of you, that is less exposing, that carries less risk of being wrong about what is happening, and therefore less risk of the specific disappointment that comes from having believed you were wanted and then discovering you misread the situation. The explaining away has become automatic. You do it before you are even fully conscious of doing it, and it is costing you things, real things. People who were actually genuinely specifically attracted to you, who interpreted your explaining away as disinterest and pulled back before you even knew they had been leaning in. I want you to stop, not permanently and globally in this situation. With this specific person who has been doing everything available to them to make what they feel legible to you without crossing the line into territory that would embarrass them if they were wrong about how it was being received. Stop explaining it away. Let it be what it is. Here is what this connection actually offers. Not the obvious answer, not simply someone younger who finds you attractive. That is the surface of it. What this actually offers is a mirror, a specific, flattering, sometimes uncomfortable, ultimately deeply useful mirror of who you are to someone who encounters you without the history and the context and the accumulated interpretations that longer relationships tend to layer over the actual person. This person sees you fresh, without the story other people have built around you, without the expectations that come from knowing someone across multiple chapters of their life, without the specific kind of vision narrowing that familiarity can produce. They see what is actually there, right now, the current version, the one that has been shaped by everything you have lived through and learned and integrated and become, not the version from 5 years ago, not the version someone decided you were before you had become who you are now. You as you actually exist in this moment. And what they see is someone worth making a move for, worth the risk of potential rejection, worth the complexity of whatever the age difference might mean practically, worth doing something that might look unusual from the outside, but that feels from the inside simply true. That is not nothing. That is someone seeing you clearly and choosing you anyway, in full daylight, with full information. Let that mean something. One last thing before we close. Age is a number that carries the weight we assign it. Nothing more and nothing less. What matters in the territory of genuine connection is not the number. It is the quality of what two people bring to each other. Whether what exists between them produces something real, whether the attention is genuine, whether the choosing is deliberate rather than convenient, whether being in each other's presence brings out something in both of them that does not appear as consistently in other company. By those measures, by the measures that actually determine whether something is worth paying attention to, what this person is feeling for you is significant, not because of their age, despite the noise that age difference sometimes creates. The feeling is real, the attraction is specific, and the move is coming. All you have to do is be open enough to let it land without your explaining away reflex dismantling it before it has the chance to be fully received. You deserve to be fully wanted, not partially, not conditionally, not by someone for whom you are a convenient option, fully by someone who looked at everything you are and decided that is the person, that is what is coming toward you from a direction you may not have thought to look. Look. Tell me in the comments who came to mind when you read this. Tell me if there is someone in your life who is younger and whose attention has had a quality you have been filing under something less than what it actually was. One honest sentence, because your honesty here creates something real for the person reading these comments tomorrow who needed to know they were not alone in this. Until next time, Virgo. Someone younger than you has made a decision about you in your favor completely, and they are working up to telling you, make sure that when they do, you are ready to actually hear it without the explanation, without the deflection, without the automatic response that protects you from something that is not actually a threat. Just receive it for once. Let someone want you without immediately finding reasons why the wanting must be something simpler than what it is. It is not simpler. It is exactly what it looks like, and it is exactly what you deserve.